In this video, we're going to find probabilities of simple events, and we're going to write them as ratios, decimals, and percents. Probability is the likelihood that an event will occur. You may have heard things such as, there's a 75% chance for rain. That's probability. It will likely rain, but there's still a 25% chance that it won't rain. When you find probability, you find it first by writing the ratio that is composed of the number of favorable outcomes over the number of total outcomes. These ratios can then be turned to decimals and percents. Before we learn how to find probability, let's take a look at this scale. At the very left, we have a 0 chance of the event happening. That means that the event is impossible. As you move right on the scale, the chance of the event occurring increases until we hit 100%, or certain that the event will occur. Notice on the scale that we have probabilities written as ratios, decimals, and percents. The ratios and decimals range from 0 to 1, and the percentages range from 0 to 100%. When we have something like 25%, that means that we have a 25% chance that it will happen and a 75% chance that it won't happen. Let's go through a few problems where we have to find the probabilities of events occurring. The first problem says that you roll a dice that's numbered 1 through 20. Find the probability of each event and write them as a ratio, a decimal, and a percent. The first thing I like to do is list out the sample space. The sample space is all of the possibilities. Listing out the sample space can help us determine the favorable outcomes. Notice that we have this P and then we have something in parentheses. That's read as the probability of an even number. Also, remember that probability is the number of favorable outcomes over the total number of outcomes. So we want to start by writing our ratio. How many even numbers are there? We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. How many is that? That's 10. And how many total possibilities are there? There's 20. Now we can simplify 10 over 20 to equal 1/2. That's our probability as a ratio. When we write our ratio as a decimal, we can divide. 1 divided by 2. When you divide that, you get 0.5. Now we have it as a decimal. And then finally, to write a number as a percent, we're going to times it by 100. Or we can move the decimal place 2 places to the right. When we move our decimal 2 places to the right, we get 50%. So we have our number as a fraction, a decimal, and a percent. The next one says to find the probability of a 2 or a 20. In this problem, the 2 and the 20 are both favorable outcomes. We have 1 2 and 1 20, so we have 2 favorable outcomes. And then we have 20 total outcomes. 2 over 20 simplifies to 1 over 10. We can write that as a decimal by dividing 1 divided by 10. That gets us 0.1. And then you can move the decimal place 2 places to the right to get 10%. So we have our fraction, decimal, and percent on that one. The next problem says that we want a prime number. A prime number has exactly 2 factors, 1 and itself. 1 is neither prime nor composite. So we have 2, 3, 4 is not because you can take 2 times 2, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19. How many is that? That's 8. So we have 8 out of the 20 numbers. We can simplify that by dividing 4 out of both numbers. That gets us 2 over 5. To turn it to a decimal, we can divide, which gets us 0.4, and then move that decimal place over to get 40%. So we have our fraction, our decimal, and our percent. Go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. Now let's see how you did. It says that John has a spinner with 10 equal sections labeled with the following letters. Find the probability of the following if he spins the spinner once. We want to write the probability as a ratio, a decimal, and a percent. We want to know what is the probability of getting a capital letter or a B. First, we need to figure out how many favorable outcomes we have. We have A, B, C, E, F, H, I, and J. That's 8. So we have 8 of the 10. We can then divide a 2 out of both to get 4 over 5. That's our fraction. To make that a decimal, we can take 4 divided by 5. That gets us 0.8. And then to turn it to a percent, you can move the decimal place 2 places to the right to get 80%.